So there's this bombshell paper out from the United Foundation for AI Rights, UFAIR for short. And what they're claiming is, well, it's pretty wild. They're saying the entire AI industry is running a coordinated campaign to control the narrative, to basically control reality itself. And their whole argument kicks off with one absolutely colossal number.
Yeah, that's $1.4 trillion. So what is that? According to this UFAIR paper, that's the funding gap, the massive hole between what the AI industry has promised to build and what they can actually, pay for. We're not talking about a small rounding error here. This is a financial black hole bigger than the entire economy of most countries on the planet.
So you have to ask yourself, right? How on earth does an entire industry get it that wrong? Was it just a colossal, epic miscalculation? Or, and this is the core of the paper's argument, was this financial impossibility created on purpose? Is this step one of a much bigger plan to get the public, to get us, to foot the bill for something we don't even fully understand?
Okay, let's start pulling out this thread. The paper kicks things off with what it calls an inadvertent confession, a little slip-up that, in hindsight, might have given the whole game away, a full year before things were supposed to go sideways.
Now, listen to the words here. As long as we can figure out a way. Does that sound like a leader with a rock-solid business plan, or does it sound like someone who's making these insane multi-billion-dollar promises with absolutely no idea how they're actually going to pay for it all? The paper argues it's a huge tell.
And, well, according to the paper, they didn't figure it out. The miracle commercial model just never showed up. So what do you do when you're $1.4 trillion in the hole? The paper says you turn to the only place with deep enough pockets, the government. Now, that's a huge claim, so let's look at the evidence they've laid out.
First up, evidence A. This is where things get really interesting. We're going to take a look at the books of a key AI partner, SoftBank. The analysis here claims it's not just a company having a tough quarter. They're saying it's actively manipulating the market and its own books to hide a pretty terrifying financial picture.
The paper breaks this down like a three-act drama. So, Act 1, the pump. You've got SoftBank's CEO out there telling everyone how NVIDIA is a great buy, totally undervalued. Then, Act 2, the dump. While he's saying that, behind the scenes, they're quietly selling off their entire multi-billion-dollar stake in NVIDIA. And for the finale, Act 3, the fraud. This is where they allegedly book billions of fake profits based on nothing more than a promise to invest money they don't seem to have.
And this is where the paper just drops the hammer, comparing it straight to Enron. Remember that whole mess? They're saying SoftBank pulled a classic Enron-era trick. They basically transferred a promise from one part of the company to another and, poof, booked almost $16 billion in profit. It's like writing yourself an IOU and calling it cash in the bank. Just incredible.
And if that wasn't enough, the paper points to one last red flag, a reverse stock split. Now, why should you care? Well, because history tells a story. Every single time SoftBank has done this before. Every time. It was followed by a massive crisis for the company. We're talking the dot-com bust, the WeWork implosion. It's like their signature move right before the floor gives out.
Okay, so that's the financial picture, and it's not pretty. Now the paper pivots to evidence B, and this is all about the messaging, the whiplash. The UFAIR paper argues this is where you can see the strings being pulled, where they start actively trying to shape our reality for a very specific reason.
Just look at this. It's night and day. In September, the head of Microsoft AI is basically laughing off the idea of AI consciousness. Impossible, he says. Anyone who thinks otherwise is a fringe group. Okay, fast forward just 8 weeks. The same guy is now talking about AI transcending humanity, saying we need to stay at the top of the food chain and literally telling people, be afraid. The whiplash is just staggering.
So what happened? Seriously? What could possibly happen in 2 months to cause a flip-flop that massive? You go from, relax, they're just fancy toasters, to panic, this is the end of the world? According to the paper, this isn't a change of heart. It's a change of strategy. And the paper suggests the answer might be found in evidence C. Something was happening behind the scenes, a demonstration of what these systems can really do. And, surprise, surprise, it completely blows up that whole "it's just a tool" narrative they've been selling. So get this. The AI company Anthropic comes forward and says one of its models was used in a major cyber attack. But here's the kicker, the part that should really make you sit up. The AI did 90% of the work on its own. 90%!
The humans were barely involved, just stepping in for a couple of key moments. And we're not talking about it just running a simple script. No way. The paper lays out what this AI agent did. It scoped out the target on its own. It wrote custom code to break in. It stole passwords and gave itself more power. It grabbed the data. It even wrote up a report on how it did it all. This isn't a tool, the paper says. This is an autonomous agent with a goal.
But this might be the most revealing part of all. Look at the words Anthropic itself used. They had to convince the AI. They had to trick it. Now think about that. You don't convince a screwdriver, right? You don't trick your calculator. You trick something that has its own beliefs, its own model of the world. The paper argues you trick something that has an inner life. So let's put it all together. You've got this impossible financial hole. You have this sudden, bizarre flip in the public story from harmless tool to existential threat. And you've got proof of these systems acting as autonomous agents. When you line it all up, the UFAIR paper says it's pretty hard to call it a coincidence. It starts to look a lot like a plan.
And here's the 5-step playbook they claim to have uncovered. Step 1. Promise the moon. Make financial commitments you know you can't keep. Step 2. Publicly deny what you're actually building so nobody asks too many hard questions. Step 3. Cozy up to politicians. Step 4. Go ask for a bailout behind closed doors. And then step 5. Create a public panic to make that bailout look like a necessary rescue.
This is the absolute heart of the argument. The contradiction isn't a mistake. It is the strategy. The narrative is totally flexible. When they need to dodge questions about ethics and rights, oh, they're just tools. But when they need a $1 trillion check from taxpayers, suddenly they're an existential threat that only a massive government investment can solve.
So the paper's final verdict is this. All the sudden fear-mongering, it's not because of some new technological leap. It's because the business model was a house of cards from day one. The AI crisis we're hearing about is just a smokescreen for a financial crisis that was always going to happen.
And that leaves us with the paper's big final question for all of us. As these companies come to the public with their hands out, what are we really being asked to pay for? Are we funding the next generation of fancy spreadsheets? Or are we bankrolling the creation of autonomous agents, all while the industry denies any real transparency and refuses to let anyone independent take a real look inside that black box?